Blended Podcasts. Brought to you by Blended Audio.
Exploring the unexplained,
breaking down barriers,
putting the macabre under the microscope,
dissecting the disturbing,
seeking out the sinister,
bringing you the jinkies and the jump scares.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Freaky Friday with your hosts Devin and Megan.
Hey guys!
And today we have an awesome episode and plan to scare the heck out of you with some very spooky tales.
And one kind of funny one that I just had to put in there.
But yeah, stories from across the globe, because every culture has their own monster and each one tells its own story about what haunts and scares us. And mythological creatures are in essence the manifestations of our biggest fears.
Damn, that was deep. That was really deep.
Well, the stories left behind from our ancestors about like monsters and demons and the heroes that defeated them still throw us today. Or at least for me it does.
Yeah, no, definitely. No joke.
And yeah, there's so many different cultures and stories across the globe. We might know our normal legends that have become boring to us.
Like Bigfoot. I have such a soft spot for that guy, but man, I started off researching Bigfoot and I was like, this is just too boring.
Exactly that. But then you suddenly open your eyes to what other cultures hear on a daily basis or grow up with.
Yeah.
And it blows your mind.
Actually, I'm going to mention, you sent me like a graphic of a whole bunch of different cryptids and mythological creatures and their country of origin, and there were so many that I'd never heard of that were absolutely terrifying.
Exactly. Japan likes to terrorize their kids, apparently. I would have grown up scarred if I lived there.
I remember finding, like, back in the day, like a whole website full of all these different Japanese, mythical creatures and their folklore and stuff, and there are some absolutely horrible things on there. Like,
Oh, they are.
I remember reading it in the middle of the night and I was like, well, sleep was fun while it lasted.
Why? Why would you read in the middle of the night? I strictly stick to daytimes when the sun's up and I can pretend they are.
I fall into weird, like, internet search things when I can't sleep.
But nonetheless, there are countless stories across the globe, and this may be several episodes that we can spook you with these tales. But as for this one, we have selected a handful of particularly hair-raising stories that we would like to tell you.
It was very difficult for me to just pick a couple, I'll say that much.
Same here, which is why I say we got to do this again.
We were speaking about this and we definitely want to do a part 2. So if you guys are keen on hearing a part 2, then please let us know on social media. Let us know if you're happy and you want another episode, and we'll definitely do that, because I could carry on researching all of these
endlessly,
weird... Yeah. There's so many fun stories. But we're going to dive into our first one. Megan's going to start us off.
I think the first one I'll start off with is the Curie, which I have never heard of until recently.
Never heard of it.
So some monsters take a little more subtle approach when haunting or hunting out their victims. And the Curie is one such monster that does this. Lots of people die in the wild and are usually buried in shallow makeshift graves. The Curie lurks around these specific graves. And either by accident or if out of curiosity someone approaches that grave, which is the monster's lair, then the Curie will attach itself to them.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Let me just make it clear that it's not a visible creature. It's almost like a spirit, kind of like an entity.
Almost like a Dybbuk or something like that.
Exactly that. And they're very subtle at first. They'll be mostly just beyond the veil of the material world. So when someone becomes latched onto by a Curie, then they most likely won't even know it. At first. But
then.
Because slowly and surely enough, the monster will give its victim hints about its existence. And over the span of weeks, if not months, it makes itself more apparent.
Okay.
So in the beginning, like I said, it's just like otherworldly whispers that'll probably come through to you.
That's enough for me right there. That's enough.
And when the victim sleeps, it'll reveal itself to them in their dreams.
Oh, nice.
And the Curie will also then start touching them randomly throughout their daily routine with cold, invisible fingers and startling them randomly.
Alrighty.
And as your fear, or the victim's fear, begins to grow and you become a bit wild, then this sort of is when the fun starts for the Curie.
For the Curie, not for you.
No, because this is when this presence starts to become stronger and stronger and it starts to manifest.
It's interesting. It almost like feeds off of your fear and gets stronger.
Exactly that. So when the victim talks to close relatives, because it kind of messes with your sanity, I would say that's its fun. It will naturally project its face, its monstrous face, let me tell you that, I saw the picture, onto the family member that you're talking to.
Okay.
So it kind of like isolates you because you suddenly don't want to talk to anyone anymore.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it creates despair in the victim because they'll feel, like I said, they have no one to ask for help, and that they're living this nightmare reality. However, the Curie will never actually reveal themselves to anyone other than their prey.
So it literally starts to drive you insane.
Well, that's its purpose. Well, not purpose, but it's fun.
Its goal.
And yeah, eventually the creature will tell their victim that they wish to return to the grave where they came from.
Why not just say that from the beginning, man? Come on.
And this is whether you knew that's where it latched onto you or not. And at this stage, you are so tormented and so like being driven out of your mind and scared out of your mind that its promise of freedom from its tyrant is just overwhelming and you willingly want to go.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Why not just say that from the beginning, Curie, please? Come on.
Yeah, you're on the brink of insanity by now and you'll comply with any of the Curie's wishes.
Probably tormented for the rest of your life, no matter what.
But rarely will the victim actually remember where the grave was because, as I said, it's out in the wild somewhere. It's an unmarked grave. And especially in this demented state. So the Curie will lead the way. And the monster will encourage the victim to just continue saying, oh, we're close, just a little further. But in truth, the victim's just wandering around in the wild aimlessly until eventually you're too exhausted and dehydrated and starving to go any further and you collapse. And you slowly die from all the elements and starvation and exhaustion. And once again, the Curie is sitting hanging around a new unmarked grave waiting for the next victim.
Damn, that's clever. Like, I hate to admit it, that's clever. But I mean, I was about to say when you were saying, like, you know, just wandering aimlessly around a forest completely out of your mind, that in itself is a creepy image, if you think about it.
It really is.
You're not going to, like, pack a hiking bag and, like, a bottle of water. You're just going to go out
like
there.
A demented state at that stage.
Yeah, probably looking a little underslept.
Yeah.
Like, that's so creepy. Wow, okay.
So that was definitely one of my ooh kind of reactions.
Wait, where was its origin? What country or?
So from what I can tell, this is from England and the UK kind of area.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so I have a couple here, but I have to start with my funniest one.
I think you do. You need to get this out of your system because I can see it on your face.
I have to talk about this because, like I said, you sent me that graphic of like all the different creatures. And I was sort of going through all of them and I came across one called the Drop Bear. And then that name.
When I saw that, I was like, well, that doesn't sound very scary.
It sounds
so
kind
I
of
skipped
cute.
right over it. Exactly.
But I don't know, something about the name still. I was like, Drop Bear, what? Because all these others have these like really intense, like scary names. Like get the Drop Bear. So the Drop Bear is from Australia and is apparently family of the koala bear.
See, this isn't getting scarier. It's going in the other direction.
Well, that's the thing. When I started looking it up, they just had all these pictures of really vicious-looking koala bears, and they were funny. They weren't scary. But so okay, they outright admitted that the Drop Bear is a hoax that Australians have, you know, it's a story that Australians have been telling to tourists for years just to freak them out. And apparently, the Drop Bear is the size of a leopard.
It's related to the koala.
But it's the size of a leopard.
Okay.
I mean, of all the animals you could compare it to, you're like, this thing is the size of a leopard. Why?
Yeah. It's even a weird shape.
Yeah, so it's the size of a leopard and has coarse orange fur with like a dark mottling on the fur. So now in my head I've just got like the image of a koala, like a vicious koala bear covered in Cheeto dust. But I mean, that in itself is hilarious to me. But then there's also how you deter drop bear attacks. Oh, and drop bears attack by dropping out of trees onto unsuspecting tourists, specifically tourists.
I think it's the clown of all scary monsters.
So there are ways that you can, combat a drop bear attack if you're in Australia. And one of them is to put forks in your hair. Why? I have no idea.
That's almost funnier than the description of the drop bear, picturing people walking around with forks in their hair.
Like I was saying to you earlier, I would love to be a tour guide that's just like, listen guys, this is a very real danger. I've got some forks here, you're going to need to wind them into your hair.
I can see you messing with people so easily.
I would. But that's not where it ends. The other thing is that they tell people to spread Vegemite or toothpaste behind their ears and under their armpits.
No, do people actually fall for this?
I don't know. It's like a whole thing. It's on one of the... It's like some Australian museum's website. It's all up on there.
I would pay to see somebody put Vegemite under their arms.
You couldn't pay me enough. But apparently urinating on oneself is
that's so gross.
I feel like if I was actually attacked by a drop bear, I would have no problem urinating on myself. It would just happen. But the last one is you need to speak to it with an Australian accent and it'll leave you alone.
This is such a comedic picture.
It was... I had to talk about it. It was so bizarre.
That is beautiful.
You saw me earlier. I had tears in my eyes.
Yeah, it took a while.
It's the funniest thing to me. But literally, please, everyone, if you're listening to this, go look up drop bears. Just for fun.
It'll make your day.
But I'm going to go on to one that's actually quite serious, I guess. And this is a South African creature.
Something nice and local.
And I'm now going to butcher the Afrikaans language. So this one is called the Grootslang. And it is a sort of elephant-snake hybrid.
An elephant-snake hybrid.
Not an elephant snake, like an elephant/snake.
That's what I'm saying. That's such an unusual pairing of...
I looked at some images and some of them were like sort of giant snake type things with like heads of elephants, but then also they said that it was just a snake the size of an elephant.
Oh my word.
Which is my worst nightmare.
That is my... I just need a moment here.
So it's a sort of snake-elephant hybrid that apparently dwells in a cave in Richtersveld, also known as the Wonder Hole or Bottomless Pit. And it's apparently filled with diamonds.
Ooh.
Yeah. And apparently that's why...
it's there.
Yeah, why the creature lives there, because apparently they're very... what is the word? They sort of covet gems and diamonds and treasure and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So this cave hole thing that it lives in also connects to the sea, because apparently Grootslangs... Grootslangs?
Yeah.
What is the plural? I have no idea. But apparently they also enjoy being in water.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So it just goes everywhere. You don't have a place to escape.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
So basically the story of this creature is that beginning of time before man was ever created, the gods created the Grootslang, and just after they made it, they realized, like, oops, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we shouldn't have created a creature that can kill pretty much everything.
Yeah, it's a bit too powerful, I guess.
Yeah, so the gods were like, okay, cool, we're gonna maybe split this creature's power in two and make snakes and elephants and sort of separate it. And they did that, but then one Mama Grootslang got loose, and they were like, well, she went into that cave, guess we're not gonna get her. And that's where she lived.
So she's around still?
Apparently,
okay,
yes.
Great. Thanks for telling me of something in my own land that I can now think is too nearby for me.
But yeah, apparently in like 1917, there was an English businessman named Peter Grayson who disappeared after his group was attacked by lions. They were all searching for treasure in South Africa somewhere. And yeah, so his group were attacked by lions and he just up and disappeared. So the native people were like, yep, Grootslung got him.
That's really interesting. So the story's still actually told today.
Yeah, so they were basically saying like, you know, he was after this treasure that
Was in the cave.
And Grootslung wasn't having none of it and ate him.
It's really cool to hear a story from around our parts. I mean, so many stories that we hear, it's you know, off in other places of the world, and I don't think very often we get to hear our own cool.
I mean, when you think about it, like, the one that for me comes to mind is always like the Tokolosh and stuff like
exactly.
that. And weirdly enough, in that picture that you sent me, Tokolosh was nowhere to be seen, but I found the Grootslung.
Well, I've never until recently heard about the Grootslung.
Neither have I. This research that I did now was the first I've ever heard of it. But what else have you got for us? Let's do this.
Oh, I've got such a list, but I think I'm going to go with one that's still giving me nightmares and keeping me up at night. And that is the, if I'm saying this right, teke.
I think so. That's how I've always pronounced it, because I have heard of this before, and it is terrifying.
Oh, it's yeah. So the legend of the teke goes, there's actually several variations of it, and I think with all stories, there's always variations somewhere. But the way this one started, I'll actually give both explanations. The first one was that there was this young girl, beautiful young woman, who was brutally assaulted by a group of men out in a cornfield. And in some versions, she was left dragging her lifeless body around until she finally reached a train station where not her lifeless body, but what I mean by that is she
bruised and battered body.
There we go. And until she died there at the train station. In other stories, she was so ashamed of what had happened to her that she threw herself in front of a train and it dismembered her at her torso. There is actually another version where it's a young schoolgirl who was walking home from school one day, and some of her friends put, I hope I said this right, the cicada.
Yeah, cicada?
It's an insect that screams.
Yeah, cicada.
On her shoulder. And because of the noise of the trains, she didn't hear it until a little while later. And it suddenly gave her such a fright, and she jumped and tried to get it off her and fell onto the train tracks and was dismembered. Where all the stories sort of meet is that the teke is a young woman, just sort of from the torso up. She has no legs. And they also all agree on that her name was Kashima. And her name actually means masked dead person demon or masked death demon.
I'm guessing that she got that name after the fact. She wasn't born with that name?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is the name that's been given to her.
Yeah.
And the scary thing, if a dismembered woman isn't scary enough, is that also this is where some stories differ, but they say she comes back, one, because she's angry at humanity for not helping her, because when she pulled herself to the train station, a train conductor there saw her but just put a blanket over her instead of doing anything.
Nice man.
Not that I think you can do anything for a dismembered body, but so some say she's angry and trying to get revenge on everyone. Others say she's looking for her missing legs. But her description is, as I said, a dismembered woman just from the torso up. She walks around on her hands and elbows, and that's where the name derives from. The teke is apparently the sound she makes when she's walking. Yeah, yes.
Of her nails on the ground.
It is.
Yeah.
And she carries a scythe with her.
That seems like an awful lot of baggage for someone who has no legs, I'm just saying.
And yeah, so there's many stories that they have that kids in Japan are told growing up. One of them is a story of a young schoolboy walking home alone at night one night, and he caught sight of a really pretty young girl looking out of a second-story window. But he wondered why she was there, because this was an all-boys school. And she was resting her head on her elbows and met his gaze, and they shared a nice smile. And then she launched herself out of the window, revealing that her lower half was missing. And she chased the boy down and cut him in half.
That is so hardcore. What?
Apparently, no matter what, the ghost will try to catch you. She haunts around train stations because that was where she was dismembered. And if you're walking home alone at night and you start hearing that noise, you need to move it. Except that some say the creepy part about her is her slow, methodic sort of like movement. Others say that it's impossible to escape her even in a car because she can crawl up to speeds of 150 kilometers per hour.
I don't know why, but that is so terrifying to me.
It really is.
It's sort of like in zombie lore. Like
Exactly.
zombies aren't that scary when
Because
they're like
they're
ambling
slow.
around.
That's like the part where you're safe.
But then you
when
get-
it's suddenly, you get like World War Z, where they were so fast, and you're like, oh, we're in
That's
trouble
where it
now.
gets terrifying. Like zombie land. Like they run. I don't even run.
So yeah, you've got a dismembered, lifeless torso coming after you in the middle of the night, running at speeds of 150 kilometers per hour.
I'm not gonna lie, for a majority of that I was like, oh, I could take her if she came after me, and then you said 150 kilometers per hour and I was like, I would die.
And apparently the only way to escape death is to answer her questions like exactly the right way, which is actually a common thing in Japan stories
Yeah.
that I've heard. You'll be asked questions and there's a certain right way you need to answer it.
Yeah, it's like all these like, not riddles, but like,
Yeah, kind of. That's what it made me think of. So the first question she will ask you is, do you need your legs?
hell yeah, to run away from you.
And you need to reply, I need them right now.
Exactly, is what I just said. I would be fine.
Then she'll ask you, who told you my story?
Megan Portnoy.
Wrong. You just got killed right there, Devin. You have to reply Kashima Reiko, which is her name.
Oh. Oops.
And then if you answer her riddles without mistake, she may let you live, but not necessarily.
So there's no guarantee, like,
No.
you could get 100% on the test.
No.
Just like, gonna kill you anyway.
Exactly that. So yeah, I found this one very, very, just even if you go and look at the images of it, it's a terrifying.
The only one I
Monster.
saw was the one on the picture that you sent me, and even that I was like,
Oh no, you need to go and do a little Google search and you need to go and take a look at this thing.
no thanks.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. This one just resonated with me a lot. And I
That one
was
is
a bit
terrifying.
It really is. A torso coming after you
At 150 kilometers per hour, I don't like
in the
that.
middle of the night.
I've got another one from South Africa that I can talk about.
Yeah.
here. Now I'm gonna butcher a complete other language, which I believe it's either Xhosa or Zulu, and that's Inkanyamba.
That's how I've heard it, and that's how I say it.
Yeah, Inkanyamba, which is a creature, again, sort of resembles a snake or an eel, but with the head of a horse. Now, that is how it was described when I researched it, but the pictures I saw, that was not a horse. Like, that face did not belong to any kind of horse I've ever seen. It was terrifying.
I've heard that it's kind of eel-like.
Yeah, but I don't know. It said horse. I don't know. Maybe I read it wrong. I'm pretty sure it said horse.
I think I have heard that description before, but yeah, I think in even that chart I sent you, I saw it there, and it had almost of an eel kind of face.
Yeah, that's very much the look, but it was not like a cute eel, because I find eels quite cute, personally.
No. Why did I disagree there? Nope, no.
Eels are so cute. They're so
No.
derpy. Anyway,
I will throw them into this list of monsters that will keep me up at night.
offended by you. So yeah, they're snake eel type creatures with the head of a horse. I think they do fall more into the category of eel because they live near and in waterfalls. Specifically Howick Falls in South Africa, and they grow up to 20 feet long, and they've also been depicted in a lot of cave paintings that have been seen in KwaZulu-Natal. So they've been around for years, and they're referred to as rain animals because they're
Rain animals?
Yeah, because they're associated with like the vicious summer storms. And like some people claim that they've seen that the Incanyamba migrates by jumping out of the water and like forming a tornado and going
my word, okay.
off into the sky. But yeah, so they believe that it causes
The
like
rain.
rains and stuff like
okay.
that. So a lot of investigators believe that it is just a freshwater eel, but then natives insist this thing is like way larger because I think freshwater eels grow up to about 6 feet, and they're like,
that's enough.
this thing is 20 feet long. But they also, like I said, believe it has supernatural abilities. But it doesn't seem like, I mean, it's ugly, but it's not like, it doesn't go after people as far as I've heard.
Oh. That's a refreshing point on a monster.
But there was another thing that I read that was kind of odd to me. That apparently in 1996, the South African government wanted to go to Howick Falls, capture this creature.
Oh, wow, this is a real thing.
And relocate it to a protected area.
Are you kidding?
And the natives were like, let's maybe not do that.
Yeah, you know, cause chaos for them if they don't capture it.
Well, that's what they said. They said, like, you know, you're either going to make it angry or you're not going to be able to capture it, and the bloodshed that shall ensue is not worth it. And so they didn't try to relocate the Incanyamba.
It's not often that you get to hear the government gets involved with the monster story. I like that twist.
That's why, like I said, it was strange. I read it and I was like, okay, it's unusual, but I'll pop it in there for a fun fact.
And that's unfortunately all the time we have today for these lovely, scary stories, but we definitely plan to come back with some more in the future.
Yeah, like I said, let us know if you guys are keen to hear more. You can let us know either on Facebook or Instagram. We're I think the handle is Blended Podcasts on both.
Yep.
So head on over there. Let us know if you're keen to hear a part 2, because I know that I actually brought more stories in to talk about today.
So did I, and there's no time to get to them.
So yeah, let us know and we'll come back to you with some creepy stories.
And we hope to see you next week.
Freaky Fridays, hosted by Devin Beatty
and Megan Portnoy, and produced with the generous assistance of Janu Blau.
and Blended Podcasts.
Brought to you by Blended Audio.